prayer. Councilwoman Gross.
Dear Heavenly Father, as we stand here tonight as residents council, we ask you to protect all those who we love and the people who come to our aid in a time of crisis, our fire company, ambulance, and police. We also ask for your guidance and help for those who work for our community. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance.
To the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Presente, roll call, please.
Mayor Reeves. Here. Here, Councilmember Gross.
Here.
Ms. Thompson. Ms. Tatasciore.
Here.
Ms. Reeves.
Here.
Mr. Patterson.
Here.
Ms. Gross.
Here.
Donahue. Here. President Stewart.
Here. I do apologize for being a few minutes behind schedule. We did have an executive session prior to this meeting to discuss personnel and litigation issues. Presentations. Every year, Borough Council has the pleasure of working with the Ridley School District as well as the business owners here in Eddystone, and we take an opportunity to recognize some of our seniors who are graduating with a very small token of our appreciation and wishing them the best of luck. So I did want to just take a moment, if you could just stand at your seat as I call your name, and we would take an opportunity to recognize you for the award that you were given back at the Senior Awards Banquet, which was held on the 14th of May. This year, the Susan Callan DiMatteo Memorial Award was presented to Aaron Riley. The Joe Hughes Memorial Award was presented to Brianna Pestuzik. The Eddystone Biddy Basketball Award, as well as the Eddystone Homecoming Award, was awarded to our junior council member, Kyle Gross. And the Eddystone Business Association's award was to Alexander Louie.
Thank you very much.
Next, we want to recognize the 2014 Model Citizen Award winners. And this is something that as a Borough Council I would like to see us do every year, is to recognize the efforts of one or many of our citizens who have demonstrated good citizenship during the particular year. This group had donated over 500 hours of their own time to transform a vacant home into what we call Mary's House, an independent living facility for 18 to 21-year-old students with disabilities. Each member of this group brought a unique skill set to the project. Team members performed many tasks, which included installing fixtures, plumbing repairs, painting, cooking, yard work, landscaping, soliciting donations, and providing community awareness of the good work that they were doing. And they each stepped forward to make a difference. This project, Mary's House, was recently recognized as the 2013-2014 Making a Difference Award by the Delaware County Community Right to Education Task Force. So at this time, I'd like to call forward Carlos Neves. Our own Councilman Dave Patterson, Jr. And representing the Ridley School District, Kelly Mullaney. Thank you. There was actually one day that everybody was very concerned with where Carlos was, and in his efforts of doing all of the yard work and pulling all of the weeds and making it so that you could actually see that property, he came down with a very, very nasty case of whether it was poison ivy or poison oak. But the dedication that he had to this project, he did show up with all of the calamine lotion up and down all of the arms and across the neck, and the hospital bandage and the Band-Aid of where he had received all of his shots, but he wasn't going to let a little bit of poison ivy stop the mission that he was under. So thank you very much, Carlos, for your efforts on making Mary's House a reality. This time I'd like to introduce Mr. John Brennan. Mr. Brennan's the CEO of Penn Terminals, and we asked Mr. Brennan to come this evening to discuss their plans for the multimodal program grant that they are submitting for. If you could come forward, Mr. Brennan.
Hello everyone, my name is John Brennan. As mentioned, I'm the CEO of Penn Terminals. The reason why I'm here today is actually to ask the council's support in a project that we are submitting grant funding for. There's two Pennsylvania grants. They're similar names. Both of them are multimodal transportation fund. But basically what they have to do is about, what we're applying for is refurbishment of our railroad track that's on our site. How the grant works is that private industry will have to contribute a portion, and state, if they think you have a good project, will co-fund with grants money to go ahead into the project. For us to refurbish our railroad tracks in our land, it's arguably be about $1 million. We're still waiting for the final bid from the contractors. Our portion of the fund is 30%. We have to put in $300,000, and then the state, then if they agree, would be for the corresponding $700,000. Part of the grant process is to bolster your strength of your application is to have support from the state, the county, and also the municipality which you're in, and we're in Eddystone. And it's in that latter part that I wanted to bring it to the borough's attention to ask for your support in endorsing our project for what we're doing. Is there any other questions about it? Okay.
Mr. Brennan, I know you did receive a letter of support from Delaware County.
Yes, and also the state.
And also from the state. How quickly would you like a letter of endorsement from the borough?
Quick as you can, because the application is due on the 20th. For one of the grants, another grant is on the 30th. They both cover the same things, but you'll only be approved for one. It's recommended you apply for both, and they'll pick which one is best for you. But you have to apply on the 20th.
Oh, June.
This month.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
We can do that during the action items. Does council have any questions for Mr. Brennan?
Does he have something outlined? Do you have something outlined you could share with us?
I sent it ahead actually, but I can't. I can send it around again. We have about 2,500 feet of railroad track on our facility.
Right.
It's okay, but I'm going to use the wrong terminology, but it's the one that everyone understands. The railroad ties underneath it are in crummy condition, and we need to fix them. Basically, that's
So you're replacing them, actually.
yeah. There's some. It's a little more than that though, because there's some parts where the track is flush to the ground and there's concrete around that, so you can drive trucks over it and other kind of things. But so it's a little bit more than just the ties. The tracks themselves are still fine, but they're in crummy condition and they need fixing.
That was the track that was there when the shipyard was there.
That's correct. Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Brennan, have you had any discussions with our code enforcement officer, Dallas Waters, and
That actually
make a determination of any type of permits or anything you would need?
Actually, that's part two. If we submit the application and the project is approved, we submit in June. If we're approved, we'll come back in September. Only then would you then go out and say to all the permits and other kind of things for actual building. Basically, because if we don't get approved, then I have to figure out another way to figure out how to pay for this.
Okay. Council, any other questions? Mr. Brennan, during our action items, we'll make a motion to, draft a letter of support of your project.
Okay.
All
It
right.
doesn't have to be a very long thing, one page would be.
I'm gonna model what the state and what the county did. Change the address
That
on
was,
top.
that was just an email, that also worked.
Here.
Vice President Reeves, would you like to make an introduction to John and Linda Buston? And kind of the purpose that they would come to council for this evening?
Sure. John, Linda Buston. I'm sure a lot of people know John and Linda because they used to live in Eddystone on 11th Street. They're here to give us a presentation on electric, saving the borough almost $10,000 a month in electric. Right now, we're paying 30 cents a kilowatt, and through Avion Energy and the supplier that they chose for us, we'll be paying about 7.76 cents or something. So it's a
About
savings of
7.5
almost.
now, we got it down a little bit lower.
Oh, you got down a little bit lower?
Yeah, I
Oh,
can
thanks,
easily
John.
explain what we do. It's nice to be at your council meeting.
But John, residents can get involved in this as well, correct?
Well, this is, they can, for their personal use, Avion, which is actually Linda's part of the business. I do the residential, Linda does the commercial.
And you do the talking.
Yeah.
Secretary.
So, basically what Avion Energy is, and we are just associates of them, what they do is they broker out commercial rates. Normally, most of your companies, they have a set rate, and people come to them and they say, hey, this is our rate, can you switch your electric, this and that. But what Avion does is they go and get about 25 to 50 different energy companies out there, and they start bidding on them. And when they start bidding down because people want the business. What we have here is a proposal, and we have 7 of the top companies, the bottom number, and which is a 7.5 rate. Now, energy is a commodity, and commodities fluctuate up and down per day. We have a good rate here. We had submitted an email, and thanks to Tim Pisani here for allowing us to do that. We asked him for if we can give you guys a free quote. It didn't cost you anything. It was just a free quote. He signed it. We submitted it to our company. They came back with us and gave us this phenomenal rate. This rate of 7.5, it's for 36 months. It won't go up. It won't go down. There's no hidden fees. It is what it is. That kilowatt rate is what you're going to get for 36 months. The difference between big companies is a lot of people can get lost in the shuffle because they have hundreds and thousands of customers. And if you're not on top of it, you can get into what's called a variable, and then your rates go up and down. They charge a whole heck of a lot of money. With what we do is we're more personalized. We look at it, we maintain it. When it's time for renewal, we get emails sent for our company. We address you guys and say, hey, your rates are going to go up, your rates are going to go down, but you're up for a renewal of your contract. Basically, that's what it is. We have a contract with us now. The only reason we have that now is because tomorrow that rate might go up. We are going into a summer season. Electricity rates are going to go up. This is a good rate. I suggest council take a look at it. If we can get a signature, this will be held for 24 hours, so actually 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. This goes away. You have to resubmit it and go through the whole process. Wait until next month, or who knows what the rates are going to be. It's a secure company. It's licensed. It's insured. There's a lot of big companies. We have just switched over. We just switched over the old McLaren Hotel, Belmont Firehouse. So we'd like to present this to you. I think it's a great rate, and you are going to save the borough month. Comparison. Just about $9,000, just over $9,000 with this rate. A month. So it's really important to keep up on this, and that's why we like the business. So I have a proposal here. You can guys do what you need to. Yeah, then this is your job. Find the contract. these are two contracts. One is for, if we can sign it, that'd be
Okay, this is an
fantastic.
action, this will be an action item during the meeting, well, just a few minutes, okay?
If you need any more detailed information, I'd be more than happy to.
And if there's any residents here that
I have a
speak to
question.
residents too, right?
Yes.
Who actually supplies the electricity?
Who supplies it?
Right.
Well, it's going out, alternative energy companies create their electric from wind, solar, geothermal, wherever they can buy their electricity.
Right.
They buy it in bulk. So anybody that produces electricity, everybody buys it off the same people, the grid. Oh, and your bill is, nothing switches with your bill. It is a PICO bill. PICO services, the wires, if they go down, nothing changes to your billing except the kilowatt rate. Anything that happens to your wires, somebody hits a pole, trees fall on it, it's always PICO. You know, they're the professionals. They come right out. There's no discrimination. Oh, you're not with us. You know, you're with some other company. By law, and they just don't do that because they own those power lines. Because if one power line goes down, everybody on the block goes down. So. PICO, well, your bill will remain the same. The only thing you're going to see is the provider and the kilowatt rate that you will be paying for the amount of kilowatts you use. Yes.
Say again what happens at the end of 36 months?
So it goes up for a renewal, a contract. It's a contract. Within 30 days, we will get notified that the Borough of Eddystone is up for a contract. And we come to the Borough, and we ask them, do you want to continue with us? Do you like the service? The rates? And we submit the same thing we just did. We'll go out and we'll get the 25, 30 companies out there to bid on it. And whoever has the smallest rate, that's the one we propose to. It's almost the same as your residential. Anybody can do this switching.
So this contract, the rate you're quoting in this contract will be good for the entire length of the contract, and when the contract is up, we're not obligated to continue.
When the contract is up,
Yeah. So it's not like an introductory rate or anything like that.
It
It's
is
a
what it
contract
is.
for 3 years, you said?
36 months, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Sounds good.
What that rate is what you're going to get. There's no hidden fees on it. It doesn't matter what happens out there as the commodity rises or lowers. It is what it is. Electricity is it's very delicate. Rates go high. We know that when we look at our own bills. You wonder, why are you paying more? Well, that's because it's the supply and demand of electricity. And if you're not in a rate, you're going to pay what they tell you you're going to pay.
So basically, like, if the borough did go with it, or a resident go with it, and got a contract for 36 months, and at the end of 36 months, you would come back and notify everybody.
Yep.
And if they don't want to go with you again, they can go back to people.
That is true.
Right, but residential is different. Residential is a totally different process than commercial. Residential, we have specified rates, and the customer chooses what they'd like. With commercial,
We're doing that for.
Well, we should thank Tina Torres.
Tina, hey, you are, honey.
Tina,
Tina is a residential customer of ours, and she said, hey, why don't you check out the boroughs? Can you do commercial? We're like, absolutely. And when we saw your rates, we were astounded. It's a lot of money that could be brought back in here. A lot of money that could help this community out.
Yep, give her a bonus, just give Tina a bonus.
I think you should. I think you should give her a couple weeks off.
Or maybe you guys should give her a bonus.
You're absolutely right.
Because that's probably not legal, is it?
Council, any questions to Mr. and Mrs. Buston from the Avion Energy? And as Karen had mentioned earlier, we'll take action during the action portion of the meeting to make approval on the contract. And if you wanted to stick around, we might have a signature for you before you leave here this evening.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity.
thank you.
Councilman Patterson, can you share the information you've got about the Young Lungs at Play program?
Yes, Hope Coyne gave me some information about Young Lungs at Play. What we would have to do are three things. Make an ordinance to prohibit smoking on any of our playgrounds, baseball fields, anything where children are playing, that there's no smoking on that field. Come up with a plan as far as to enforce it, and I would talk to the police department and the folks at the rec center and the volunteers, and then we would have to have a communication plan for informing the public, but I wouldn't do that until after Borough's council, Mr. Duffy, and I sat down and came up with the ordinance, because I don't know how long that process takes, so I can't schedule a date for that. In return, if we do this, not only does it benefit our children, but we would receive signs from the program that say no smoking, and they would be put up at all the playgrounds, parks, schools, everyone involved. So I'd like to make a motion to move forward making the ordinance with Mr. Duffy and follow up with an enforcement plan and a communications information meeting to the public.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna, once we get to the action items portion,
Okay.
I'll turn it to you so that you can make your motion to
Okay.
create a
Okay.
ordinance for the Young Ones at Play program. Hello, Miss Rainbow and Patty. Rainbow and Patty are with the St. James Catholic Regional School, and they join us this evening to kind of give us a recap on the Bulldog Dash.
So on April 5th, we held our second annual Bulldog Dash, which was a 5K held at the Doghouse. It was very successful. We had more runners than we had the year before, and we hope that it grows. We could not have done it without, of course, the approval of the borough, the mayor, the police department, the EMTs that were there, and also the residents. I know that some of the streets have been closed down in that morning, but it was fabulous, and so we just wanted to, on behalf of the St. James Advisory Board, donate $250 to your recreation department. And we look forward to the third annual next year. April, do you have the date? First Sunday in April, Saturday?
First Saturday in April?
We'll be back.
Second Saturday. The first or second Saturday in April. Beginning of April.
Beginning of April.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much to the St. James Regional Catholic Schools, and we look forward to the third annual Bulldogs Dash, the beginning of next April.
Plenty of time to train.
Tim, you know I'll lose that. The last presentation, which isn't on the agenda, I just wanted to make a statement regarding the Wind Committee. Borough Council has drafted a letter dated the 2nd of June 2014. We've addressed it to Miss Margaret O'Doherty, who's a teacher over at the Eddystone Elementary School. Dear Miss O'Doherty, upon a recent review of our accounts of beneficial bank, we've discovered that the Eddystone ComPerv, P-E-R-V, Council account was opened under the IRS number for the Borough of Eddystone. This account was identified as belonging to the Wind Committee. Since the Wind Committee is a private organization which is not affiliated with the Borough of Eddystone, we are prohibited from allowing this organization to continue to use the EIN number specifically assigned to the Borough of Eddystone. Please find enclosed the cashier's check number 410-66280, made payable to the Eddystone ComPerv Council in the amount of $2,046.42, which represents the operating balance of this account as of Friday, May 30th, 2014. On behalf of all members of Borough Council and our mayor, we sincerely appreciate all of the activities that the Wind Committee has sponsored for the children of our town. We believe the important work of your committee needs to continue, and we encourage you to deposit this check into an account which is specifically set up for your type of organization. We trust that you understand that funds from a private organization cannot be sheltered under a public EIN. Should you have any questions or concerns, please contact me directly. Sincerely, William Stewart. That check was dropped off at the school on the 2nd of June. In addition to making sure that we closed the account, we requested from Beneficial Bank 36 months worth of bank statements. Council Vice President Reeves, who is also the chair of our Finance Committee, is in the process of reviewing those bank statements, and those bank statements will remain as part of our open records. At this time, I'll just take a 5-minute recess. All right, back on the record. Public forum, Ms. Christine Cocker.
Hello. I'm here to ask the council's permission to organize a overdose awareness and memory walk, maybe late August.
I'm assuming that the walk would be very similar to the cancer walk?
The walk would be very similar to the cancer walk with a candlelight vigil at the end, starting in the evening, late afternoon, maybe 5, 6. Walk around Eddystone, come back to the field and have a vigil, and maybe I have already talked to Jack Whelan. He's said that he would try to help me as much as they could with the task force. So maybe have a couple of people, Holcomb Behavioral Health or a rehab there if anybody wanted to ask questions or whatever.
You don't have a date set?
I have a date. I have a date of August 23rd, which is it's the weekend before Labor Day. So
Is that a Saturday?
it's a Saturday.
And what time?
I would say 5:30 to start. I also have that I would like to have a registration fee. It would be $20. $10 would go to a T-shirt. Everybody that registers would get a T-shirt. The other 10 would go, if possible, into a fund for a scholarship to go to a student, not just in Ridley, because I'm sure other communities may be here, but a Delaware County student that has been affected by addiction or an overdose. Maybe a family member has passed away or something like that.
Acting Chief Macheski, what time did the cancer walk start? Do you recall? I think that was like 5:30, 6 o'clock.
Yeah, 5:30, 6 o'clock.
And that seemed to work out well with because we were getting right into the dusk area. And
Yeah, so it would probably get dark around 7:30 at the end of August, and that would work for the vigil.
Ms. Cocker, at the interview, you can give me your contact information.
Sure. You want? I'll just write it down for you. Also, I want to get kids involved. I want to try to get pictures of loved ones that have passed away and make posters and hang them up on the telephone poles throughout the walk. So as you're walking, you can see, they can see the faces of people who have passed away and what happens.
You'll have enough family, consent from the families to post?
Oh, well, I'm not going to
You
post
have
it
it,
unless, I'm going to tell them what it's for, before I post it.
Right, okay.
it'll
They'll have
probably
to give me the
probably
picture.
be the family member coming forward.
Well, they'll
with
have to give you the
that-
picture anyway,
Right.
so.
Okay.
That's it, that's all I have.
Council, any questions for Ms. Cocker? It's
Wonderful, wonderful.
I just lost my brother in January overdose, so
Yeah, right.
it's kind of a grieving thing, I guess.
But you're doing it in a positive way,
Yeah.
really. Thank you.
And I think the more you tell the younger kids, you can scare them before they get into it.
Right.
Once they're older, they're
Yeah.
not scared of anything. So.
Yeah, true.
Acting Chief Macheski, the August 23rd date, is that giving you enough time? You think that we can work with Ms. Cocker and as, the numbers start to come in, making sure that we've got, the bike patrol that's going to be scheduled that weekend, and you've got officers that are going to be available to kind of do the same thing we did with the cancer walk, which is, box the walkers in and work with the highway department to close streets off as we make the
Yeah, I think
procession.
it's ample time to do some planning, and most definitely make that happen.
We'll take action during the action
Okay.
meeting items and give you that permission to move forward with your planning
Thank you.
process.
And as it comes closer, you can make an announcement on the code red.
Yeah, you can make, right. Chrissy, when it comes closer, like Mayor Reeves said, he can make an announcement on Code Red.
Okay. Yeah,
And I'm writing a bunch of notes, so when we hit the action items.
I don't even have a lot of
Yeah,
notes.
just give me the high sign, just wave and say, don't forget me, don't forget me, so.
Okay.
I'm on the second pages of notes here on things
That's
that aren't
fine.
on the agenda, so. Teresa Corcoran.
Mine is like a silly thing, not silly, but when you come up Simpson towards Chester Pike and the people are coming out of Walmart, they see you driving, but for some reason they just dart in front of you. It happens all the time, because I come up the, like I live near that street. And I just want to know if the cops could do something undercover where you could try to catch them, like have some, watch them. They do it constantly. I don't know if anybody
Are
else.
they turning out, going
They
the wrong
come
direction?
out of Walmart's parking lot, and they make a right onto Simpson, but they act like they don't have a stop sign, like they have a yield. Like they just pull right in front of you.
It is a yield sign there.
Oh, it is a yield?
Yes, it is.
All right, well then that's why then. They're just pulling out. Like, hello, I have the right of way, I'm going straight, don't I? Do I have the right of way?
Yeah, you do have the right of way.
They're going
If
your
they
way.
hit you, then it's their responsibility.
But if they pull in front of me and I hit them, then I'm screwed.
Should a stop sign be erected there?
Yeah,
Should a stop sign be erected there?
that's an idea.
It's feasible, but I believe that property probably would have to be for the developer for that property.
So it'll be Walmart's.
The Walmart, yeah.
Well, they have stop signs on Walmart's property.
Yeah, they would have to.
Can you
they
go
would
tell
have
the
to put it
Walmart?
We are planning on having a meeting with the general manager with the next.
in the near future.
Right, near future.
Yeah, because people are making lefts.
Write this down.
Yes.
Ask about this.
There's a lot of people making lefts out of Walmart.
I got it.
Ed, Eddie, there's a lot of people making
Thank you.
lefts where you say no lefts.
See it all
Awful
the time.
lot cutting out, going left towards Mike Street.
Okay, well, when we have time, we'll work on the card, I'll go back to the card and ask you for time.
Thank you.
Anything else, Ms. Cochran? Anything else for council? Corcoran? Ms. Corcoran, anything else?
Thanks, Dave.
I'm bad with names. Ask Ms. Groy. Mr. Wilson.
A few weeks ago, I just briefly mentioned that there were some things that I thought that had been talked about that hadn't been followed through on, and I kind of promised to come back to that again. And to kind of preface that, I want to say I really am quite pleased with the way the borough government is working now. There's so many things that personally I feel are improvements, and I think you guys are generally doing a really good job. But there's a couple of things that things that bother me, and one of them is we're talking about the WIN committee, and we now know that there was a borough account that the WIN committee was using, a bank account, using the number that the Internal Revenue Service assigned to the borough, which is a tax-exempt number. Presumably, I don't know, this WIN committee is such a mysterious thing to me. I keep asking who's on the WIN committee, and the only thing I ever hear is Ralph's on the WIN committee. Now, I don't know what's going on, but I know that there was a letter that went out from council some time back instructing the then mayor, Ralph Orr, to comply with an order from a judge in the Right to Know court up in Harrisburg to turn over the records for the WIN committee. And at that time, he said that the WIN committee had nothing to do with the borough. And I'm sure I've got it on the videotape someplace, because I've heard him say it a number of times that we had no business asking about it. Now somebody, I'm wondering where the accountability is on some of these things. Somebody opened that account. You can't just walk in, I can't walk into Beneficial Bank and say, I want to open an account using the tax ID number of the borough. There's no way they would let me do that. And here you guys are, you're the borough, and you didn't even know that account existed. Now, I know it's easy to get lost in the shuffle, but the reason that I can't go in and open an account with your social security number or somebody else's social security number is because it's illegal. And also, we've had situations in the town already where we have organizations that are charitable organizations that are not, they're not registered as non-profit tax, not tax exempt is not the word, but a company, something that you can make a charitable deduction, a donation to, and take it off your taxes. So one of the questions I'm wondering about is this money that we just gave to the school. I'm sure it's WIN committee, but the account wasn't even in the name of the WIN committee. We don't even know who started the account or what was going on with that. And we don't know where that money came from. And now, there's other situations like that in town where we don't know where the money came from. We don't know if somebody, usually when somebody goes around, and we know that a letter went out on borough letterhead signed by the mayor, trying to raise money for the WIN committee. And yet he said that the borough had nothing to do with it. Now, did all that money that was in there, presumably there might have been more money than that at one time. But what I'm saying is that how do these things get followed through? We still never got the paperwork on the WIN committee. The WIN committee's never given us any financial records. When I come to the borough and I do a right to know on that, I was told we have no records. Danby put something in a couple of years ago. It went up, and the borough said, "Oh, it's nothing to do with the borough. The WIN committee has nothing to do with us." And she appealed it, and it went up to the judge in Harrisburg, and the judge found that yes, it was a borough operation because the mayor was soliciting donations for it. So I just wonder how it is that people can do all these things and there's no one ever gets held accountable for it.
Can I say something?
Sure.
For quite a few years now, I'll say the last 3 or 4, I have asked Ralph if I could see financial records, have I not?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I did, I got yelled and screamed at, said it has nothing to do with the borough.
Right.
Among other things that we asked
Among other things that
Right.
we asked. We were asking for accountability, and we were refused. He refused to give us accountability. Last October or November, I sent him a certified letter telling him I needed quarterly reports from August, or from September of 2010, which in August is when you did your right to know, and it came back that it was a borough entity, and that's what I got. That wasn't too long before that I was actually given that paperwork. I had sent a certified letter that never got picked up, and it came back to me. As a matter of fact, I believe we have it on file here, or it's in a file with the WIN committee stuff. I did go to the bank last week. I asked for 36 months worth of statements. I went late. It was about, 4:45. When I got home, I opened them. They were incomplete records. Today, at 10 minutes to 5, I picked up my records. So I'd like to go through these and have a report for next month's meeting on my findings, and then hand these over to Tim for public records.
Okay. Not to use, a bad word, put a bad label on this thing, but here again tonight, we just heard that it's not a borough thing. And you just said it was a borough thing, and Bill says now that it's not a borough thing. And basically somebody has this slush fund of money sitting around, and there's no records. We don't know where it came from. We don't know where it was spent. You know, I'm just saying that when you have an elected official who is required and in fact ordered by a judge to give you records, somebody has to follow through on that. I mean, if you have to talk to the district attorney or something, you need to do that. And this kind of ties in with a couple other things I'm looking at. We've still never gotten the financial records on former Chief Connor. And I'm told that the borough doesn't have the records. And that's not good enough. Because those are public records, they belong to the people in this town, and that's what makes everybody accountable. If somebody has records and they're refusing to give them, if he left office and never handed over his records to the new incoming mayor, that's a problem. I would think that it's illegal. I know that if I do a right to know, as I did, asking for records, and you tell me there's no records, you ought to be finding out where the records are, because that's illegal to destroy or steal or remove those records. It's a crime. You know, and with that in mind, you know,
Just so
acting
you know,
chief.
I received nothing from the former mayor.
I know you did. I know you did. But what I'm saying is, we have a police department here. We had Jack Whalen in here the other day. Why can't we get these records? Because they're, you know, from what I understand, well, you know, how were checks cut if there were no timesheets? How did you know what to pay somebody? Because your approved procedure for that is to you have end of shift things, pieces of paper that get filled out or records that are taken, and then at the end of the pay period, there's another piece of paper. At least that's the way you do it now, and that's the way any place I've ever worked, any business I've ever been in, when they issued a check, you had to have something showing that you did the work or put in the time or something. Now, the records that finally showed up, and I don't know, I'm told that Bill Connor brought them in and gave them to Tim or something, or to somebody. Now, those records, I looked through them, I know you've looked through them, and those records are not the borough records. The borough record would be a timesheet. I'm talking about when I fill out this timesheet, it goes in a file someplace and it stays there. You know, if you want to get rid of that, I guess there's a procedure for doing that. But what gets turned in here are a bunch of things where just somebody input a bunch of data into a computer, did a printout, and got handed over to the borough as being the time records, and they weren't at all complete. But they looked for all the world to me like they were printed out the other day and somebody signed them. And in fact, even those records are not the records. They are not records. If you do a computer printout of something that you did on your computer at home, or from, we don't even know where those records. We don't know what machine those records came out of. We don't know who put the data in. We don't know anything. All we know is that the police chief and the mayor were responsible for having all those records, and they're gone. And I'm asking you, where are the records?
It's my understanding that all this is under litigations right now, so we can't speak of it because it's under litigation.
I don't think that's true. I don't believe that. I'm not talking, to begin with, he was discharged. Now, tell me whether he's employee or not. The thing is, I'm talking about where are those records, and that has nothing to do with any litigation, if you have a lawsuit, by the way, you know, if you come in here and say we had to discuss a lawsuit like you did today, there's a legal precedent where I could say, well, what's the docket number on that? And you would have to give me the information on that. So you can't just say it's a litigation, we can't talk about it. He may want his job back. That may be litigation. Now, is he suing you? Is that what you're saying? There's litigation?
It's just litigation, that's all I can say. I mean.
Well, does that mean that there's a court case?
Trump, maybe Trump could answer.
Open your mouth and say something, please.
All right. Let the man have his say.
He's done. He's waiting for information.
Well, what's your legal opinion of when records, official public records, disappear with no explanation whatsoever and nobody looks to see what happened to them?
I don't know anything about records disappearing, but there's a long period of time in what's going to be a civil action between litigants and
right.
the person they are about to sue before it actually has a court case and a docket.
So that's litigation, but it's not a court. It's
right.
not.
So
it's
I
not
can't give you a docket number on
right.
something that hasn't necessarily.
I don't really want
filed.
a docket number.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that when public records are either shredded, removed, destroyed, and in fact, that's right. If they're not kept, that's probably a crime. I think that's as I was reading on the internet, that's nonfeasance. When you don't do your job. When you're elected to these jobs, you've got a big responsibility for these things, and if you want the people in the town to trust you and everything, you have to follow through on this is basic the American way, democracy, the law. Every one of you guys, when you took office, you all put your hand on the Bible and said that you support the Constitution of the Commonwealth, which means all the laws in Pennsylvania, and then the borough, statutes and ordinances.
Glenn, you
Yes.
can't take the pants off a naked rear end. They can't give you what they don't have.
Right.
And they are trying to do it. And
Okay.
it doesn't happen overnight. And they are working on other things.
I know they're
They're
working
doing as
on
much
other
as they
things.
can. They all have other jobs and responsibilities. They do as much as they can in the time they have.
Well, Teresa, when records disappear, is that just something that we let it go?
No. Have they been trying to find things? Yes.
Mr. Wilson, let me, just interject and maybe we can bring closure to, I will tell you what I'm comfortable telling you with the understanding that this is a personnel issue and that there is pending litigation with Mr. Connor. So,
I am,
and
once
Sean,
again,
if I begin saying too much, please, don't hesitate to
I
say
don't
you're
want to
walking
hear
down
any
the
personnel.
wrong side of the road.
I don't want to hear any personnel matters. So you don't have to skirt the issue on personnel matters, because I'm not talking about personnel matters. I want to know why, when something disappears from this place, why the police are not called in to find it. You guys have jobs, I know that. Ed has a job. Ed is the chief of police here. Maybe Ed should ask some questions. Where did these records go?
The Borough of Eddystone has received notice through our labor council that Mr. Connor does intend to sue us for wrongful termination, even though we'll call it discharge. Okay, the Borough of Eddystone has been working to gather as much records as we can regarding his time. Those time records are incomplete. We will make the concession that the time records are incomplete. The time records that we do have all been approved by former Mayor Ralph Orr. And there seems to be some inconsistencies in the way that he charged his time that raises question with, certain liberties that he appears to have gotten for overtime and compensation time that was not necessarily extended to the other officers in the rank and file. I've compiled a notebook of all of the timesheets, all of the comments that I've had during the review.
Stop.
And
Stop.
okay,
Stop. What you're asking for is part of what's in question. So I would just try to let the litigation go forward before you
Okay.
ask for it.
What I'm saying is that I'm not talking about whether he deserves to get his job back or any of this personnel stuff. To me, that's something else altogether. Now, the records that you talk about, you and I know that those are not borough records. Are you going to stipulate to me that those are borough records and that they came out of our accounting system?
I will tell you that the shift logs that were presented are the same shift logs that the other officers fill out.
It's not what I saw when I looked at it. Maybe you've got more than was given to me when I put my right to know in. That's possible. I'm not talking about a personnel issue. I'm talking about something that is very possible a criminal issue. And I'm not even pointing the finger at somebody.
And that's an issue that we're going to let the attorneys take care of. There's action that's going to be taken later in this meeting to kind of move the whole litigation issue forward. And the only thing I can ask you is that you continue to show some patience. You continue to show some confidence in the table of council members here this evening, and that we are very quickly trying to bring this to resolution, and that we're all working in the best interest of the community.
I believe that that's all true. I have faith in that. What I'm saying, though, is that when public records, these things, where did they go? It's like if one of your police cars disappeared, you'd go and look for it, right?
That's correct.
If somebody took a copying machine out of this office, you'd go and look for it.
And we've had Acting Chief Pacheski spend countless hours looking through all of the files and making sure that there's been information that he's been able to share with us that were additional records that weren't initially turned over, which kind of closed the loop on certain issues. What I'll ask for your continued patience and your continued confidence that we're working very hard to bring this to a conclusion.
I don't know exactly what to do, and maybe everybody thinks I'm crazy, but I put a right to know in for records. First I was told that the records don't exist, that the borough had no records. Later on,
put another right to know in to see what other records have been produced since the last time you submitted a right to know.
Yeah, well, I saw the records that Mr. Pizzenti showed me. We looked through those. But as I'm saying, those are not borough records. You don't even know where they came from.
Unfortunately, we cannot undo the past. We can only make sure that we control the future, and that's there's things that we're doing as a borough council to make sure that you learn from your mistakes of the past.
All right. Well, then I will put in a new right to know
Okay.
for those records. I will put in another right to know here for all of the Wind Committee records. I know that Karen just came in with those. There, she got new ones.
Understanding that Council Vice President Reeves has just picked them up at 5 o'clock this afternoon. If you would give her the courtesy of allowing her to have some time to review it.
I'm not being discourteous to Ms. Reeves.
I want to look through them and do an actual report, of my findings.
Okay. Well, since I'm doing those, I've got one other one. that's a right to know, and that is, I'd like to know about this sale of borough property, meaning that Ford Ranger or whatever it is that we talked about a few times ago, that was sold to someone for $100. So I'm asking for the records for that. I'd like to see the transfer of ownership. I'd like to know how it was determined that that was only worth $100 since it's on the street now being used. You know, this is another thing that everybody says, well, it happened, it's in the past, we can't do anything.
Mr. Wilson, you know, you're very familiar with the right to know process, how to fill out the paperwork, and
Okay.
Mr. Placente is on notice to be.
Okay, well, I'll give Mr. Percent. Tell you what, let me make sure I give you the right one. Because I'm going to give one to Ed too, because the last time I did this, I was told that there were different right to know officers.
We have one right to know officer. We
We
took
do?
action on that at
Okay,
previous
good.
meetings.
Then Ed can rip that up.
Mr. Wilson, any other business in front of council?
You've heard enough from me. I have to say that I've been more or less quiet recently, so
Okay.
You saved it all up for one night.
yeah.
I'll look to be chastised after the meeting for Mr. Duffy for going a little too far.
I don't, all that stuff, I can't say, at some point I would like to know, the only other thing I'd like to know is at some point I'd like to know where our $50,000 is. The $50,000 that was paid out on a workman's comp claim that was rejected both initially and on appeal. Because I'd like to have that money come back to the borough. Something else to be followed through on. And I know you're working on these things behind the scenes, but we only see what we see.
Yes, sir.
So,
Understood.
thank you.
Thank you. Any other public forum? I'm going to move forward on the agenda. Acting Chief Macheski has been working with Mayor Reeves. They've identified some staffing needs within the Eddystone Police Department, and we're looking to hire 2 part-time officers to supplement our full-time staff. So at this time, I'll ask council to make a motion for the appointment for the return of Mr. Paul Gleam as a part-time patrol officer with the Borough of Eddystone Police Department.
I'll make that motion, Mr. President.
I got a motion made and seconded on the table. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Mayor, if you do the honor of swearing in Mr. Gleam, and welcome back to the streets of the Borough of Eddystone.
Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Paul Gleam,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
I will support, obey, and defend
I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
and the ordinances of the Borough of Eddystone,
and the ordinance of the Borough of Eddystone,
and to carry out the duties and responsibilities
to carry out the duties and the responsibilities
of a police officer
of a police officer
with fidelity and to the best of my ability, so help me God.
with fidelity and to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Welcome back, Paul.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations, Paul.
Mr. Kyler, how many years did you spend with the Borough of Eddystone?
10 years.
10 years as a part-time officer with the Borough? As a full-time officer with the Borough of Eddystone. So at this time, I'll ask council for a motion to appoint Ben Kyler, who brings not only many years of experience as a police officer, but 10 years of full-time experience here in the Borough of Eddystone. If we could bring him back as a part-time patrol officer with the Borough of Eddystone Police Department. Council, can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to bring Ben Kyler back as a part-time police officer for the Borough of Eddystone.
Second.
I have a motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Mayor, would you do the honor?
I state your name.
I, Benjamin Kyler,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania
and the ordinance of the Borough of Eddystone,
and the ordinance of the Borough of Eddystone,
and to carry out the duties and responsibilities of a police officer
and to carry out the duties and responsibilities of a police officer
with fidelity and to the best of my ability, so help me God.
with fidelity and to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Ben, welcome back.
Still have your phone on my phone, you still see?
I'm going to see on the street side.
Still the same. I'm from the old school, I haven't changed anything.
Mr. Pacente, can I have the treasurer's report, please?
Yes, Mr. President, the balance of Eddystone General Fund as of May 1st, 2014 is $334,727.16. We had an excess of revenues over expenses in the amount of $281,961.30. After expenses, the balance of the general fund effective May 31st, 2014 is $480,902.92.
Council, is there any question on the treasurer's report for the month ending 5/31/2014? With no questions, may I have a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
Make a motion to accept the treasurer's report as read, make it part of the permanent minutes.
Second.
I have a motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Cash receipts and disbursements journal.
I'll make a motion, Mr. President, to accept the cash receipts and disbursements journal. All bills be paid and all monies deposited.
Second.
I have a motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Code enforcement report, please.
Mr. President, 22 inspections were performed in May. 66 work stop orders or violations and or citations were issued. 32 work permits were issued. 26 licenses were issued. And the codes department received fees in the amount of $4,212.84
Council, do I have any questions on the code enforcement report for the month of May 2014?
No.
With no questions, may I have a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion to accept code enforcement report as read and made part of permanent minutes.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Mr. Pacente, the police report, please.
Yes, Mr. President, there were 483 calls for service in May. There were 110 citations, 7 accidents responded to. There were 32 deaths reported. And then totals for the month: parking citations 46, criminal arrests 31. Bringing annual totals through May 2014 to 204 parking citations and 140 criminal arrests by the Eddystone Police Department.
Council, do I have any questions on the police report? Vicente, I do see that it's got January 2014 on the top of my copy. If you could just make that correction before we accept.
Yeah, we'll get with the chief on that right now.
With no questions on the police report, may I have a motion to accept?
So ordered, Mr. President.
Second.
Motion made second, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Fire report, Mr. Vicente.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Eddystone Fire Company had 22 alarms in May, 9 by day, 13 by night, with 211 members responding. That's an average of 9.6% per alarm. Fire Chief Andrew Walsh also reports during the month of May the fire company had their housing and building dedication parade. The event was a success with a good time had by all. The fire company participated the following weekend in the borough's annual Memorial Day events, including a parade, fire truck rides, and fireworks that day.
Council, any questions on the fire report? With no questions, may I have a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion that we accept the fire report as read and make it part of the permanent minutes.
Second.
Motion made in second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Council, we're in receipt of a proposal by Guy's Collision Center. Guy's Collision is located at 1177 East 9th Street in Eddystone. Guy's Collision is making a proposal to offer the following services to the Borough Police. Towing vehicles with a charge of, I believe it's $85 per tow for Monday through Friday and $95 per tow on weekends and holidays. They're also extending a discount of $75 for any borough resident with proof of residency that would require a tow, and that would include weekends, and storage charges of $45 per calendar day on all vehicles towed. I do apologize that we did not have an opportunity to discuss this more in depth and to also compare the prices that Guy's Collision has submitted with the, is it Delaware County Towing that we have currently?
Yes.
I'll just ask that we table any motion on this, but I will charge Borough Council with reviewing the proposal that we received from Guy's. We've received quotes from the police department for the purchase of the new Smith & Wesson M&P, which I learned was military and police, 40 caliber firearms. There was 3 proposals that were received. The proposals essentially include the purchase of new pistols with a night sight and mag safety, new holsters, as well as a trade-in value for the Beretta 96Ds that the police department usually currently uses as their service weapon. Atlantic Tactical has a bid price of $4,425.40. Firing Line Incorporated submitted a proposal of $6,015 even, and the Officers Store has submitted a price of $4,845.60. Acting Chief Pacheski, anything you would like to add to?
Yes, I'd recommend that the Borough Council goes with the Officer Store's proposal. For a reason being that we have done business with the Officer Store before. They're easy to work with. They're relatively close by. We do our taser work through them. Whenever we have a problem with taser gun, just call the guy up and he stops right down. I think the service is what we need, and I would like to consider Officer Store.
So Council, at this time I would entertain a motion for the purchase of new Smith & Wesson military and police 40 caliber firearms from the Officer Store.
Make a motion to accept the Officer Store proposal for the weapons.
I have a motion, can I have a second?
Second it.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Ed, how quickly can you get the new firearms in?
I believe I placed the order, we got the firearms in and training probably would be July.
Can you give us a little bit of a synopsis? I know you went through the whole trial process. You test fired how many different weapons?
We test fired 3 different weapons. What I did is I got the department together, I scheduled some range dates, and I chose the Glock 22, the Glock 23, and the Smith & Wesson. I asked all the officers to shoot all 3 weapons. They felt comfortable and choose a weapon that they like. Most of the officers went in thinking they wanted Glock because Glock's a bigger name. All the officers came out, it was 100%. Everybody wanted the Smith & Wesson. Very close in price, and they're both very good weapons.
Council, earlier this evening, we heard a presentation by John Brennan, who is the CEO at Penn Terminals. Penn Terminals is in the process now of submitting grants for the multimodal program, which would include improvements to their rail facility within Penn Terminals. They've received a letter of confidence and support from both the state as well as from the county, and they're also looking for the same letter of support from the Borough of Eddystone. So if I could have a motion so that we would be able to draft a letter of support to Penn Terminals for their pursuit of the multimodal program grant.
I'll make that motion, Mr. President, that we draft a letter for Penn Terminals upon your recommendation and the state and counties as well. Second.
Motion made in second, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Tim, you want to have the honors of putting the letter together, or?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll send you my electronic signature.
That's perfect.
Also, earlier we heard a presentation from Councilman Patterson regarding the Young Lungs at Play program, and as Councilman Patterson had explained, the first step in the process of implementing this program would actually be to draft an ordinance. Is that correct, Councilman?
Yes.
So at this time, we'll entertain a motion for giving Sean Duffy permission to draft an ordinance on behalf of the Borough of Eddystone so that we can implement the Young Lungs at Play program.
Make a motion to have Sean Duffy draw an ordinance so that we can put it in place to start the Young Lungs at Play program.
Second.
Motion made in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Also, earlier this evening, we had Ms. Christine Cocker that appeared in front of council. Ms. Cocker is interested in organizing an overdose awareness memorial walk, which is tentatively scheduled right now for the 23rd of August. If I could have council provide her permission to continue with her organizational process.
Make a motion to have Christine Cocker's request given permission for August 23rd for the overdose walk between 5 and 6.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Ms. Cocker, the only thing I do ask is to make sure that you get in touch with Acting Chief Macheski. You know, this way here we're communicating back and forth on the route and making sure that we've got the police personnel in place. If you needed any support from Borough Council in terms of producing flyers, certainly we would be able to, you know, run some copies off for you so that you could distribute through town. And you know, also, you know, if I could ask is to just as a courtesy, once you do prepare the flyer, to give council an opportunity to review it, just so that, you know, we're making sure that the language is something that we're comfortable with.
That's fine.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Council, at last meeting we took action to appoint a liaison, and that liaison would be a member of council that was in direct communication with our labor council. Specifically, that liaison was to discuss the ongoing litigation with William Connor, and I was appointed as that liaison. I've had multiple conversations throughout the month with Mike Madron, who is our labor counsel. Mr. Madron has kind of exhausted any attempts of, making a settlement in the case. It appears as if the case is going to go to some type of formal litigation, and he would be most comfortable and believes we would be better represented if we were to make a change in legal counsel. His recommendation was to appoint the firm of McNichol, Byrne, and Matlowski to represent the borough on current as well as future labor issues. I did receive a proposal from McNichol, Byrne, and Matlowski. Paul McNichol would be the lead attorney, although he would make available other attorneys in the firm. Their price per hour is $235 an hour for attorney fees, plus $90 per hour for paralegals. Upon, if council was to take action, we would execute his proposal, and he would be sending a letter to Mr. Connor's counsel to advise him of our change in attorney. So if I could have a motion for the appointment of McNichol, Byrne, and Matlowski as our labor counsel.
I make a motion to appoint McNichol, Byrne, and Matlowski to replace Madron now as our counsel for current and future labor matters.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Am I forgetting any action items that need to be taken by council?
Yes, Avion Energy.
Oh, sorry, I do apologize. That's why I asked the question.
You weren't going anywhere.
I know.
Missing pipe.
I'm just waiting for the siren. Council, earlier this evening, we heard a presentation from Avion Energy. Avion Energy has reviewed our commercial electrical needs. They have brokered a kilowatt per hour price of, my proposal says 0.076 cents per kilowatt, but you said that's down to 7.5 cents now? 7.5. That would be for a term of 36 months. So council, if we could take action on entering into a contractual agreement with Avion Energy to provide our electrical service, not to be confused with distribution.
No, it's distribution.
Distribution, and PICO does the service. So electrical distribution would be through Avion Energy. Council, may I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to engage in a 36-month contract with Avion Energy to supply our electric at a rate of 0.075.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. I do have one here that I did forget besides Avion Energy. Summer camp. Summer camp is scheduled to begin on Monday, the 30th of June, and it is going to run Monday through Thursday, and will conclude on Thursday, the 31st of July. Council, we've discussed about payment of the staff for summer camp, and if my memory serves correctly, the individual that we appoint to oversee the operations of camp would be paid at a rate of $12.02 per hour. The counselors that are over the age of 18 and in college over the age of 18 would be paid at a rate of $9.87 per hour, and anybody that is 16 or 17 with working papers would be paid $7.75 an hour, which is minimum wage. Are my numbers correct, Tina? The number of individuals that would be hired would be dependent on the number of campers that plan to attend. So, council, if I could have a motion to accept the hiring at the rates just specified, $12.02 per hour for the head counselor, $9.87 per hour for 18 and older, and $7.75 per hour for those that are 16 and 17 that can produce working papers.
So ordered.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Oh,
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Is there a charge to the kids?
no charge for the kids. There's no charge for the camp.
I didn't think there was.
A letter or a flyer announcing summer camp was distributed at the Eddystone Elementary School, so the kids are aware of the time that camp will be held. Tina, do you think we can get summer camp information on the television?
Yes.
I think it's already on there.
Is it already on there?
I think it is. One comes back there. It said we're looking for camp counselors.
And Tim, just, I've heard Mr. Wilson's message loud and clear this evening about accountability and making sure that we track our records. In conversations with Acting Chief Macheski, I understand that there's an HR package that is available through our service provider Paychecks, and that HR package essentially will allow us on a weekly basis to be inputting information about an employee's time. In addition, it would also be tracking that employee's accrued sick time, accrued vacation time, and there's also a mechanism that we've got to put in compensation time as well, so that in the event in years to come, we've got a question about how somebody accrued a certain amount of sick time or a certain amount of vacation time or a certain amount of compensation time. Instead of trying to comb through all of the paper records, it would be a simple computer-generated report. What is the cost of adding that HR package to our current agreement with Paychecks?
I thought it was relatively cheap per employee, per pay period.
Yes.
I want to say $10 because I already talked to the chief brought this up to me a while ago. But I want to say $10 per person per pay. I'm not sure if I'm right on that.
So what?
I wanted to do that years ago. I was told, oh, it's too complex with the police department.
Well, we think we can do it. I think the chief thinks he can do it, yeah. And then the paychecks, I think he thinks they can do it. The comp time is an issue. I'm not sure if that's something we're ready to try. But vacation, sick time, and even scheduling, I think. Just get away from the paper and it will be entered from a computer instead of what we use now.
There's a program that the actual employees can go in and enter it themselves.
Yeah. We have a new paychecks rep.
Specialist.
They're wanting to come in.
So what do we have, 6 full-time, 6 employees? No, with the police, it's 8 and 6, 14?
I wouldn't quote that number though, Mr. President, because I wasn't expecting you to ask me about that tonight, and I talked to the old.
I am listening to Mr. Wilson and trying to
No, but I
there's a
mean,
way
the
that-
$10, if you're adding that, you're basing it on a number, and I'm trying to remember what they told me on that tomorrow. I don't think I would check, yeah, that guy can come out.
Yeah, meet with the new rep and then report on it next month or something.
I might be wrong there, that's about that number, that's what I'm saying. Because I spoke to them on the phone, that was a while ago.
Could you have somebody from Paychecks appear at our next council meeting and they can explain the program that they have, or at least provide a proposal to us?
Definitely come out to the borough, we can ask for a proposal, I could invite them to the meeting, I'm just not sure.
At minimum, what I would like to have is before the August meeting, no, July meeting. Before the July meeting, I'd like to have a proposal from Paychecks so that they would be able to provide the HR package. in addition to the payroll that they're currently doing. And preferably it would be able to track compensation time. But if it can't do compensation time, we'll settle for 80 to 90% of what we're trying to accomplish. Council, is there any other action that we need to take at this meeting?
Yes, Mr. President, I have a permit for a resident that lives there at 1098 Eddystone Avenue, wants to put up a gazebo. Dallas Waters and myself looked at the drawings, everything looks to be right. We asked for 2 of his neighbors, one on either side. He went above and beyond and got 8 of them. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the gazebo at 1098 Eddystone Avenue.
I have a motion to approve the gazebo at 1098 Eddystone Avenue. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
I'm looking through my notes and it appears as if everything has been covered. Is there any other action items? I don't believe that we have any upcoming events, at least not in the month of June, or not between now and our next council meeting, which is July 14th. General updates, website development is continuing. Photos and copy, we've already started to submit our photos and copy content to Hall Communications. Mr. Kyler and Mr. Gleam, I believe we already have your picture. So I'll have to get a photo of Mr. Kyler. Preferably in uniform with the hat, because that seemed to be the best picture that everybody took, was with the hat. But we are on schedule for site testing to be in early July, and we are still on target right now for a July 14th launch. So hopefully next council meeting will be launching the new website. Update on the promotional testing for the ranks of lieutenant and sergeant within the Eddystone Police Department. Mr. Bill Davis from the Delaware County Police Academy was on site last Thursday, the 5th of June, and he administered the written examination for both the sergeant as well as the lieutenant. And the oral interview portion of the testing process is scheduled for this coming Thursday, the 12th of June. And what I've asked is that the Civil Service Commission reconvene sometime prior to the 14th of July so that we can review all of the test results and put the final rankings together and make a recommendation to council for the next meeting. Roundtable discussion. I will start to my right. Councilwoman Tatasciore. Do you have something for the?
I'm fine.
You sure? I don't mean to make you red or embarrass you. No? When was commencement?
Tomorrow.
So you actually walk tomorrow? Congratulations. You have something to share. And then your plans after high school, they include what?
Going back to the Army?
So you're going back to the Army? So what's the A school?
Yes, in August.
And training in A school is going to consist of what?
Demolition.
Okay.
Screening for landmines.
You will be at the next council meeting.
Yeah, I will be at the next council.
If he doesn't get blown up.
Well, congratulations on graduating, and best of luck. How's the weather look for tomorrow for walking?
Thunderstorms.
Thunderstorms?
You're more welcome.
Is it going to be the game time decision of you get 2 tickets and go inside?
Yeah.
Okay. We went through that, didn't we, Cassandra?
I think every year, every place goes.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Tatasciore.
I just have a couple things. I wanted to congratulate Dave Patterson for doing an outstanding job Memorial Day You had everything under control, the parade was beautiful, the activities were beautiful. Ladies Auxiliary worked really hard, I want to thank them as well. Danny, I know you were majorly, involved in making that be a nice day, and if I left anybody out, I'm sorry, but everybody who contributed and helped did a nice job. Memorial Day is always nice in Eddystone. I also wanted to congratulate Ben Kyler and Paul Gleam. So happy that they're both back. Congratulate our graduating seniors, Kyle. Glad you're going to have one more meeting. And the last thing is, I talked to John Buston outside, and he said he would get some cards and drop them off for us. So any residents who are interested in saving some money, besides me, can get a card from Tina. So when he gets a chance, he'll drop some off. And I think that's all I have.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Vice President Reeves.
Yes, I'd like to congratulate Dave on not only the Memorial Day festivities, but also on his Citizen Award. Very good. I'd like to thank everybody that came out and helped. I was out of town and was unavailable. But, this community really pulled together at a time when it needed to pull together to make everything go very well. And with that being said, I would like to make the motion so that we don't have to go through this next year, that we form a parade committee. Headed by Dave Patterson.
You're on that committee.
I'll second it for him.
So we have a motion on the floor to form a parade committee, which
Yes.
would be in responsible charge of coordinating next year's Memorial Day parade. And I also have second, so all in favor? Aye. Motion carries, and from what I understand, Councilman Patterson, is that if you want to get the mummers again, it's best to give them a call this week
Yeah.
for next year.
Already in the process.
Well, now you're on it, Dave. Okay, and another thing,
No, wait, before you go on, is that this was the last year of the contract with the fireworks
Sam Bellies, yes.
contract, or the fireworks vendor, so it may also be a good idea to start soliciting bids for fireworks. Okay. Adding to the committee already.
anybody, do you want volunteers to come see you?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Anybody that wants to volunteer for the parade committee, you don't have to live in town, like, you could be like,
Shriners.
She's
I
good.
can't wait to
Also, over the last several years, we've had 4 police officers that have retired, that were never recognized by the borough. I would like to, after I do some research of when Fireman's Week is in Wildwood and when Irish Week is, I would like to, for this fall, have a community-wide retirement celebration for 4 of our officers. Those officers are Alan Reeves, Ray Rodden, Robert I. Roddy, and Tom Riley. None of these guys, 3 of them were born and raised in this town, and Roddy lived here for several years. They were never, ever recognized for all of their years of service from the borough. And I would just like to I thought it would be nice if we did a community-type thing in the fall, so everybody gets together and has a nice celebration and everyone can recognize the officers.
We're gonna have that cow pie bingo in September. It would like a, fun
Community.
day down on the field. So maybe that would be a great time since everybody will be there anyway.
Yeah, that would be perfect. We could all get together and
That would be
coordinate that.
awesome. Yeah.
And that'll mean
27th.
a little bit of work for you as far as ordering retirement cards.
Already looked into that stuff.
Okay.
We're good.
So you and I will have to sit down and have a talk. Yes, Alan?
The 12th, 13th, and 14th is Fireman's Weekend.
Oh, well, we're gonna do it at the same time at
19th, 20th, 21st is Irish Weekend.
Then we're good.
We're good, 27th. Okay, so then 27th, we're gonna add that in with the cow pie. September.
Vice President Reeves, anything else?
Yes. Last month, we had a resident come up that had a tree that was removed from her alleyway. It was actually it was our alleyway, but it was in her yard, hanging over or whatever. And she's pregnant, and when the contractors came out, they blocked her back door. And she came to my house, talked to me about it, and couldn't get her dog out the back door, so I went down to the firehouse, and 4 of our junior firefighters were down the firehouse, and I spoke to the guys, and they immediately went over and helped this lady. And I want to personally thank Steve Weber, Eric Roy, Rich Jones, and Robbie S. Whoever, I don't know Robbie's last name.
Schiraldi.
Huh?
Schiraldi.
Schiraldi, okay, for helping the resident. This is what the community's all about. And I was pretty impressed that I saw young gentlemen that were willing to, you don't see that in kids anymore. They went and moved all the stuff out of her yard, that she had in her yard, so that she could get her out her back door. The contractor pushed everything in front of the door, so she couldn't get out her back door. So these kids went over and moved everything out for her. And also, last thing, Bill.
Okay.
I'd like to have a meeting with the historic in reference to the old Ponce Thomas, Mancy,
Yes,
Crane in the village.
yes.
To see if we could possibly.
The original Lighthouse Hall, yeah.
Joe Mancy, okay. You were gonna bring it up?
I was gonna bring it up.
Okay, well then I'll wait till you're around here, you can bring it up.
Sure.
But I would like to have a meeting with the historic committee to see if we can get some input from media, from the historic committee and media.
Okay.
Delaware County Historic Committee or whatever.
Well, there's a farmhouse still.
For the purchase of
Still
that
out
building.
there.
What's that?
Farmhouse originally was here before anything else.
The farmhouse?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have that too. We have that farmhouse.
That has a lot of history behind it.
Yes, it does. It's the
Melissa
oldest.
is next to Gleams.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, behind, it's actually
Just throwing it out there.
behind Gleams House, yeah.
Oh, knows.
Councilman Patterson.
I know I'm gonna forget somebody on here, but I'm trying to get everybody. For Memorial Day, I mean, the outpour of the volunteers was awesome. It was a last minute thing, and I truly appreciate everybody. The only reason it went so well is because I had great backup. The businesses for the generous donations, the council members that came out, rec board members that came out, all the volunteers. We even had volunteers that came back. I just can't say thank you enough to everybody for that. All the police and fire companies that, you know, came to town for us. I'd like to thank Acting Chief McChesky and also Chief Walsh, thank you, for helping me out with getting the police departments and the fire departments to come to town. It was a great turnout. And also to the ladies auxiliary. And I'm gonna say it because I should have wrote it down. There was a gentleman by the name of Bob, and you know his last name.
Johnson.
Thank you. Saw him at the produce the night before the parade, and he offered up a 1963 Ford Galaxy convertible, red in color with a white gut for the mayor to drive through town. Also, said, you want me to bring my other one? And it was a 69 Chevy pickup, 4-wheel drive, lift kit, big tires, the whole 9 yards. And I put council president on the toolbox. It was just a great day, and I thank everyone. I mean, everyone. That's all I have.
I'd just like to reiterate all the good things to all the good people in this town, because we really do have a wonderful town. It just is a pleasure to be a part of this, and I thank you for everything that you do for us. You good?
Mayor Reeves?
Yeah, I'd like to welcome Paul and Ben back as part-timers. Thank Dave and all the volunteers for the Memorial Day. Everything turned out great. And also Dave and Joe Stusik for all the work that they did down the Lighthouse Hall, cleaning it up and getting it all right.
And also the mayor,
that the machine broke down on me when I was cleaning the gym floor. I already laid all the water and chemicals all over the floor, and the mayor stopped by, and we had to hand mop it.
Everything turned out good.
It turned out good.
Acting Chief Macheski.
I'd also like to welcome Ben and Paul back to the force. It's good to have you back. Also, I'd like to thank Dave. You did a great job with that parade. And we had a lot of intersections to block, and we asked for some resources, and a lot of the fire companies all chipped in. We had help from the Walk Lane Fire Company, Prospect Park and Clinic, and provide all the fire police. And once I got all the fire police together, I soon learned that they have no way of communicating with each other. So I went to Radio Communications, and they graciously donated the use of 18 portables for us, for those guys. So we got to do the parade without a hitch, and they came back and did the fireworks for us.
Thank you, Herb.
Thank you.
Very good, very good, Herb. Like I said, community pulls together.
Yes, it does.
Absolutely.
Anything else, sir?
That's
Oh
all,
yeah,
sir.
the bike patrol thing Judy said.
What's that?
The bike patrol ride around.
The bike, oh, I'm sorry, yes, the bike patrol ride along was a success. I think we handed out close to 20 helmets. We had some helmets left over. Some of the officers have them in their cars and they're at the station. Anyone need a helmet, please come up to the station.
I like the idea of the officers actually have some helmets in the trunk as they patrol the streets. If there's a child that, appears to be under the age of 12 and, by law is required to wear a helmet, that, the officer's taking the opportunity to pull that child over and, just make sure that the child understands the importance of wearing the helmet and then providing that helmet there, on the spot. So it's a good community policing tool that we thank the folks that it was CHOP that had given us a donation, as well as
Guys
Collision and the rail company, the Eddystone Rail Company. So we thank those for their generous donation of bike helmets.
I'd also like to remind everybody summer is coming. School's let us out next week. We have a curfew ordinance. The police department's going to do its best to enforce the curfew ordinance, enforce the loitering. We are going to ask all the residents to help us out. So when you do see a problem, please call 911 as many times as you need to, so we can come and resolve the situation.
Yes, Mayor Reese, I'm going to get your letter out.
Very good.
Mr. Catania, you've been quiet and you did not remind me that we have to take action this evening on the approval of the bill for the
sanitary sewer work, yes.
Sanitary sewer I&I improvements.
Yeah, that work has been substantially completed. We don't have a final invoice. We do have an invoice for payment for the National Water Marine Company that did the work. And that, of course, gets paid by the county. It does not get paid by the borough.
Right. Council, I believe you all have the memo with Catania Engineering on the top of it. Based on the recommendations of Catania Engineering and their memorandum dated 6/9/2014 regarding the CDBG sanitary sewer I&I improvements, Catania Engineering is making the recommendation that we approve payment request number 1 in the amount of $29,025 made to National Water Main Cleaning Company, as well as council's approval for change order number 1 in the amount of $5,202. Can I have a motion, please?
So ordered, Mr. President. I'll make a motion to pay the $29,025 and the $5,202 as approved by Mr. Catania.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Thank you for reminding me, Mr. Catania.
One other thing, by the way, we applied for county CDBG. You got the letter?
Yep, got it right here.
You want to read it?
Absolutely.
Okay, go ahead.
Council's in receipt of a letter dated May the 30th, 2014 from the Delaware County Council. Dear Mr. Stewart, we're pleased to inform you that the following activity is approved for the fiscal year 2014 Community Development block grant, which is known as CDBG funding, we received an allocation of $24,500, which is for sidewalk and curb improvements that is to occur along Seville Avenue between 12th and 13th Street. Mr. Catania, I'm assuming this will go out to bid?
Yeah, there'll be a kickoff meeting on June 24th at 9 a.m. at the Delaware County OHCD office.
6/24
Yes,
at 9 a.m.
9 a.m., yes.
Do you need a member from council to attend that meeting along with you?
No, just a representative.
Just a representative of the borough?
Yeah.
Cross that off the list. Cross that off the list. Cross that off the list.
Ed, do you think we should send thank you words out to?
Yeah, just got a hold of David, give him a list of those guys, and you can see if you can send that to them.
The ones. Well, no, I'm talking about the ones donating to homeless as well.
Oh, I got a separate, what I did with those, was a child find a picture of the kids, I sent them a news article, with a thank you letter. So next year when I ask for funding, I'll just
So
say.
we can make sure that the rail company and Joe Guy get that.
Yes, they're gonna get the thank you letters also.
Okay.
Borough Council's in receipt of a letter dated May the 2nd, 2014 from Exelon Generation. Dear Mr. Stewart, on behalf of Exelon Power, I'm pleased to enclose a check in the amount of $3,500 in support of the annual Memorial Day celebration. Exelon Power is delighted to support the Borough of Eddystone and commend you on your efforts on behalf of our community. So we want to pass along our thanks to the folks at Eddystone, or the Exelon Generation, for their generous donation to our Memorial Day festivities. Mr. Vicente, I'll forward the check in the amount of $3,500 to you. There's also a form that we need to sign, complete and sign, and return it back to Exelon just as a confirmation of our receipt of the funds.
Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
We also received a check for $800 from Jack Alloway, part of the Eddystone Rail.
Terrific. Was that for Memorial Day, or was that for the softball? Softball?
Pretty sure it's
Okay. Or baseball, right?
baseball. Could you-
And then the last order of business that I have is Vice President Reese had alluded, she would like to set up a meeting with the Historical Committee. The borough has received a phone call, and I hope I pronounce his last name correctly, Manzi?
Nancy, yeah.
Joe Manzi?
Joe Mann.
Joe Manzi's the current owner of the Eddystone Lighthouse, or Lighthouse Hall, which is located at Eddystone and Second Street. Folks may be more familiar with it as being known as the Pons and Thomas Building, and it was built back in 1800s. And if anybody has ever been inside, it is absolutely incredible inside. All of the architectural treatments. The loft actually appears to be like a hull of a ship. And
Mrs. I'm sorry,
Okay.
Mrs. Pond, she had everything all redone when they took over the office there.
he is interested in selling the property. And I believe what Council Vice President Reeves would like to talk about the Historical Society is to at least initiate the discussion, saying that the borough may be interested in possibly acquiring that property based on the availability of some of the funds from, your historical societies throughout the county. It's just an opportunity for us to be able to preserve one of the historical jewels of Eddystone. Also, if you're familiar with the property, he actually is operating a crane business out of it, so it has a very large warehouse. I know at this time he's not using the entire warehouse, and it would, potentially afford us an opportunity that instead of housing the police cars and the trash trucks down at the highway yard, then we'd be able to utilize some of that warehouse space there. So I caution that this is initial conversations. However, we want to, make sure that we're engaging as many folks in the public as possible to, kind of make the phone calls and write the letters and see what kind of funding exists out there if the borough was to decide to move forward with this type of purchase. And, this building here, I wanted to look at the ceilings and see all the stains. I see one still over there, but we are having some issues with this building. The roof is leaking. I believe the mayor and chief's office were flooded recently during one of the rainstorms. We do have a vacant area which used to house the fire department, so we also have a need here in years to come that we would have to do some type of refurbishment of this facility and having something down in the village that would be able to be utilized as not only office space but also a place to house the police department would be ideal. So that discussion is ready to begin. I'll actually make a phone call to Mr. Manzi tomorrow. I'll let him know that we've, are interested in discussing with him the possibility of some type of purchase of that particular property. Members of council, last call for anything on roundtable? Any other public comments or any issues that anybody would like to address council with? I do appreciate everybody's patience, as we did go very long this evening, but I would like to have a motion to adjourn.
So ordered. Second.
Meeting adjourned.